Each year, the student with the highest grade point average is asked to make a few remarks. Would Mr. Barry Neville come forward? He is Assistant Professor of History. Please come forward to introduce our valedictorian.
Thank you, Dr. Greer. I want to assure everyone I'm not here to give a speech or a lecture.
We would love it if you did, though.
Instead, I have the distinct honor and high privilege to introduce the valedictorian for the graduating class of 2018. In a class filled with outstanding scholars, this student worked very, very hard and was awarded the valedictorian prize for this evening. Daniel Elliott is an excellent student and an excellent person. And not only is he an excellent student who earned a grade point average of 3.82, he was heavily involved in almost every aspect of this college. He was the president of the Student Government Association, he was co-president of the PTK Honor Society, and he was president of the ACTS, the Interdenominational Christian Fellowship, for 2 years. He was also an honorary member of the chess club. He was involved in almost everything that happened here at this institution, and he demonstrated great ability as a leader and as an outstanding scholar. He's also famous for his puns and one-liners. Many of you have probably heard a few of those, and I'm hoping he's included at least one of those in his valedictory address tonight. So I would invite Daniel Elliott to come forward as our valedictorian. Present you with this award on behalf of the college.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Who here has had their life impacted by a 15th century German blacksmith named Johannes? Now, hang on to that question, no monkey bars required. On my first day at Eastern Shore Community College, I wanted to quit. I didn't think that I could do it. And I suspect that many of you have had days just like that as well, and I know that I had other days like that. But my second day was much better, and obviously, holding out was worth it. I have had opportunities to grow in ways that I could not have imagined on my first day here. So now I stand here before you for my fourth time on this stage, having received my diploma and given the invocation and benediction in previous years. Yet, when I started here, I did not expect to even be on the stage once, because I planned to transfer without graduating. But I became involved in different clubs and activities on campus, and I got to know some of the students and faculty. And just like when I found myself face first in a cream-filled donut at the end of the year party 2 weeks ago, I found out that I could do it. I could succeed. You convinced me to stay. And I would not be here today without you. And we, the Eastern Shore Community College class of 2018, would not be here without a multitude of people. So, on behalf of the Eastern Shore Community College class of 2018, I want to say thank you. Thank you to Dr. Glover and Dr. Britt, Dr. Greer and Dr. Lewis. We thank you for leading this institution while we have been students here. To the Eastern Shore Community College Foundation, we thank you for helping with the costs that come with education by providing scholarships and helping clubs and student activities so that we can learn both inside and outside of the classroom. To the Eastern Shore Community College Board, we thank you for guiding this institution. To all of the faculty and staff, thank you. Thank you for teaching us, for helping with essays and all of the behind-the-scenes work, and for aiding us with assignments, and ultimately, for being with us to talk whenever we needed it. We also appreciate all of our pets, cats and dogs, and other animals, whether in the air, land, or water, for helping to calm us down and de-stress us. You have supported us, sacrificed for this achievement, prayed for us, and helped us with assignments. To everyone I mentioned, yet again, thank you. If just one of you were not involved in our education, we would not be the same group that we are today. And personally, I would like to thank my mother and father. You've raised me and have guided, directed, and taught me for nearly 22 years. Thank you for homeschooling me. My education would have been much different without that choice. I would be nowhere near who I am today without you. To my sisters, Amanda and Christine, thank you for being my siblings, without whom I could not imagine sharing countless memories. Thank you to everyone who has had an impact on me, from family friends to teachers in public school and Sunday school, church members and pastors, robotics mentors, and camp staff. Most importantly, I thank my God and my Lord Jesus Christ. Without him, I am nothing. We have earned our degrees and certificates. The world awaits. I am one of the few people standing between us and the world outside. So I will be as quick as I can. Once the ceremony is over and we get outside of this tent, there will be a lot of pictures taken. Some of those pictures will wind up on social media, and many of those will include captions, and some will inevitably include emojis. You did not expect to hear emojis at this commencement, did you? Now, I promise that emojis and Johannes are going to make sense in a few moments. But have you ever stopped to think about where emojis come from? Now that's an interesting question. They came from Japan, and there's an interesting history of how they wound up in America. According to YouTuber Tom Scott, who is an accidental emoji expert, they came here when Apple included them in iOS 5 because they wanted to sell the iPhone in Japan. And someone in the Western Hemisphere found out that they could insert this little picture image and send it to their friends in a text message. That person thought it was cool and wanted to know, how do I do that? And so they found out, and it spread. But Apple did not give us the iPhone in a vacuum. They built upon other technologies that already existed. That might be obvious, but the smartphone needed to exist already. To be sure, Steve Jobs did not unveil the first smartphone when he unveiled the iPhone in 2007, but he unveiled a new smartphone that revolutionized the cell phone industry and promoted mass market adoption of smartphones. But smartphones couldn't exist if cell phones didn't exist. On April 3rd, 1973, Martin Cooper, the vice president of Motorola, was the first person to use a handheld, completely portable telephone to make a telephone call, according to a Motorola press release released on that same day. And what about radio? The invention that would enable the cell phone. Who would have thought to try sending people's voices and music over the airwaves without the work of scientists and engineers and inventors, and along with the telephone to show that the human voice could be transmitted? Have you ever thought that Alexander Graham Bell was involved with the radio and the emojis? But where would Bell have started if the telegraph did not exist? The idea that you could send a signal over a wire would have been outrageous without the telegraph having already existed. But the telegraph needed a battery and an understanding of electromagnets. Batteries require electricity. Do you see how everything builds on what came before? We would not have emojis today without everything that I've just listed. Now I'm going to skip a few hundred years of people, inventions, and seafaring to save some time. And we finally arrive at Johannes in the 15th century. Remember him from my opening question? Johannes invented something that transformed the world more than anything I just listed. He invented the Gutenberg printing press. Before his printing press, every book made had to be copied laboriously by hand, and the copyists would want to be paid for those long hours. Because it took so long, books were expensive, and not everyone could read and write. Now, with his printing press, books came down in price, and they could be printed faster than ever before. But what is a printing press without something to print? Just like a 4K HDR TV is nothing without something to watch, printing press without something to print would be an expensive paperweight. Enter the Christian church. Up to this point, monks and priests would laboriously by hand copy the Bible and other religious texts, checking to make sure that they had the correct number of words, letters, and paragraphs, and that the middle word, letter, and paragraph of everything matched. If it didn't, they would start over. Thank goodness we have computers to make this task easier for us now. Why was the church so invested in copying the Bible? It was the Word of God, which they believed told the story of how man had sinned and become separated from God and could be saved and reunited with God, not just for this life, but for eternity. They thought that that was worth the hardship, the torture, the persecution, and the mockery for making the Bible available to everyone to read and write in their own language, a task that is still underway today. And then, in 1517, Martin Luther sparked a wildfire that we now call the Protestant Reformation. Luther had some issues with the Catholic Church, and he wrote a list of 95 theses that he nailed to a church door in Wittenberg, Germany. And we probably would not know about that today had the printing press not existed to spread that message around. The church has also helped to spread literacy because they wanted everyone to be able to read the Bible themselves. So I ask again, who has had their life impacted by a 15th century German blacksmith named Johannes? I told you I would get back to that question. But there are thousands upon thousands, if not millions, of people, inventors, discoveries, books, and other things that I have not mentioned. They have influenced all of us in some way as well. So, now that you know that emojis and Johannes Gutenberg are related, what does that matter to us? What is this aside from some cool trivia? Well, I hope that now that we have this little minute bit of tidbit of knowledge, we can use that knowledge, that we can impact people to make a difference. Gutenberg was impacted by countless people from history that we have no knowledge of. Without them, Gutenberg might have never made his printing press, and we might not have the avocado emoji or the donut emoji on your phone. Focus on others more than yourself. As Mr. Neville always says, love is the answer. Love puts the needs of others before your own. And when you see an emoji, think about how you can love somebody and put them ahead of you, how you can impact them, even if you don't know them, even if you won't get anything in return. Think about how that impact could shape the world centuries from now. I would like to close with two quotes from two famous men. In his address to the graduating class at Wheaton College, given on May 9th, 1993, Billy Graham said, "Unless things have changed since I was a student, you have not managed to save a great deal of money while you were here. There are not many wealthy graduating seniors, but you do possess something of great value, a non-renewable resource that is moving inevitably towards depletion. There is nothing you can do to stop it. That resource is time." Mr. Graham's time on Earth ran out on February 21st this year, after 99 years on Earth, after impacting millions of people. Our time is running out as well. So what should we do? We should listen to and act on the words of Jonathan Edwards. Before he turned 20, Edwards compiled a list of 70 resolutions for how he should live his life. Today, I want to close by reading Edwards' fifth and his seventh resolution. His fifth resolution, resolved never to lose one moment of time, but improve it the most profitable way I possibly can. And his seventh resolution, resolved never to do anything which I should be afraid to do if it were the last hour of my life. Godspeed, my peers. Continue to prosper, continue to learn as much as possible in this world, and ultimately, when you see an emoji, I hope that you remember Johannes Gutenberg and how he has impacted you, and ask not what others can do for you, but what you can do for others.